everyone. Welcome to Marie Astrid Molina from Scaleway. Thank you, Marie. I already yesterday when I was, prepping for the flow today, I loved the title of your presentation, How to Design for a Product You Don't Understand Nothing About. So Marie is a product designer at Scaleway. Do I call you Marie or Astrid? Which one do you prefer?
You can call me Astrid.
Okay, so Astrid creates intuitive product interfaces which combine user needs with company strategy. She has her background in UI and UX design, and she loves solving puzzles. Astrid aims to improve the user experience of our clients. Thank you so much. The stage is yours. We're going a bit deeper into the product design. Looking forward to your insights.
Yeah. This presentation was amazing, so I hope
you'll have to speak on the mic.
Sorry. Ooh, I like it. So thank you everyone for coming to this presentation. I'm going to show you my journey of how I designed for products I actually understood nothing about at first. So first of all, I'm going to talk about what is Scaleway, my company, and what is a product designer. So Scaleway is a French cloud provider. We help businesses and developers to actually deploy and scale applications to all types of infrastructure. We have 3 key main points. We are French, very proud, and European. We master our entire stack, and we own more than 25K companies use Scaleway on a daily basis, and we own 7 data centers in France, Holland, and Poland. Pretty nice. So now, what is my job, actually? So what is a product designer? Quick disclaimer. I am not a cloud architect. I will not build cloud infrastructure. We have experts at Scaleway who do that for you, so great, but not me. And I'm not a brand designer. I don't work on the guidelines or the tone and voice of the company. I work on interfaces and experience. But it can be a little unclear, so I'm going to show you some deliverables, hard word, to show what actually I produce. So, first of all, quick definition. Product designer uses his user needs, business strategy, but also internal technical limits and design principles to actually create interfaces and optimizing user flows. It looks like doing workshops, collaborative workshops to create a solution. We also have a huge design system to actually be more flexible with our layouts. We have the full product layouts. When you have, it's a product actually, we have, and there's user flows to actually understand the full experience of our clients. And the main goal is to actually bring a significant and positive experience, to our clients. It's the goal actually for the full product team, but for designers, we have a huge impact on experience. So let's rewind a little when I was a design student. So actually, when I was in design school, it was very nice because I could work on the project I wanted. I worked on various subjects, and the goal of our teachers was for us to boost our creativity. And I realized I had never worked for a subject I wasn't already familiar with. Fast forward to my adult life. I was recruited in a communication agency. It was a little more complicated than my design studies because we worked for banks, for insurance companies, for telecommunication companies. So I had a lot more of thinking to do, but it was still services I used on a daily basis. I have an insurance. And then I had a huge opportunity to work for Scaleway. It was amazing. Great challenges, great team, a lot of things to do. It was great, but I started to freaking panic because I realized I had no clue what we were actually selling. I tried to look up for articles and stuff, but it was not something tangible. Servers were not something I had in my own home or services that I would use. So I started to fully panic. And that's step 1 for you. How do you stop to panic? To stop panicking, actually, during those years, I realized a few things, and it's like 3 reminders I like to remind myself for life. So it can be for anyone, not only product designers. Maybe you will recognize yourself. So first of all, no one understands everything 100%. And in tech industries, most of the time, we have to demystify the so-called knowledge of developers. They have amazing knowledge, but they can't keep track of every specific use cases for products. Even if you're a senior developer, you may not know that an error could show up at this time of the experience. And it's okay, because you don't build a product alone. It's a shared knowledge, and you don't have to understand everything. And you have a lot of technical debt to handle, and there's a huge turnover in technical industries. So it's fine. And of course, don't get me started on incorporating other companies' technologies, such as AWS S3, if people know. It's a trauma. So it's fine, you don't have to understand everything. Second one, they know I don't know. Because maybe you do the same, you don't lie in your interviews, so you actually said you never worked for a cloud provider before, so they were designer before you. They know you need to actually understand this product, and it will take a lot of time. So we know that, they know that. And you became aware of that when you hire other product designers, actually, because they didn't have any previous knowledge of the products, and they actually brought so many great feedbacks to our processes, how we deal with design systems, and even the products itself. So go for it. There's no lie. If you didn't lie at your interview, it's fine. And the last one is, I already knew what to do. Actually, I'm a designer. I was not recruited to be a developer, but a designer. So I know some design principles. For example, CRUD, create, update, read, I did so, and delete. So you know some principles you can apply in every kind of product. So you will be able to work right away. And we must not forget, we talk a lot about technical debt. Design debt exists also, and we don't talk about it, but it's kind of hard to do and to deal with. So you're a designer, you know what to do. And it can apply to any kind of jobs, actually, not only designers. So now you start panicking, almost. So you actually need to start working. So how do you understand the basics of the products you have to design? And you have your team, maybe they're crushed through the demands. So you actually have to learn and work at the same time. So here's a few tips. First, I tweaked and compared key interfaces. I'm going to talk to you about the console. What is a console? Not this console. I would have loved to. Nintendo, I'm here. But it's this. It's amazing too. It's our product platform. It's our catalog when you can order and configure your process, your products and resources, and it's where you manage the access. So it's kind of my workplace, actually. Not only, but most of the time it is. So what I did is I brought through key screens. I wanted to be reassured. So what did I do? I actually looked for workflows I have in other applications I use on a daily basis. For example, you may know about icon creation or profile update. So we have this one too. So be reassured by going through key screens you already know. After that, you need to go completely bananas. You have to click everywhere, test everything. You want to show up every kind of errors and mistakes that can appear on screen. You want every banner to give you feedback. You want to test it out. And the start of the show are the components. We talked about design systems. And the documentation, because these two notions will help you understand what do you need to do to set up a resources without even knowing the product. So go for it. And after that, of course, you have to compare it with competitors. And you want to know, do we name the features the same way? It's very interesting. Do we use the same components, design components for the same feature? And what's our strategy for different products between different cloud providers? So it gives you a good idea at first. After that, I needed to find my lighthouse. No, I'm not crazy. It's a real thing. So actually, when I was completing my onboarding, the speaker used layman's terms to explain of the cloud, and it was amazing. It was so easier to understand, and it was still a lot to process. So I was like, I need to find the same guy, but like 10 times, so I can have people to explain me every product at Scaleway. So it looked like this. I was like a fisherman in the raging sea. I needed to find a lighthouse, someone I can lean on to safely guide me to the land. Poetry. So what did I look for? I looked for someone who was easy to talk to, eager to share with others, most of the time someone who teaches technical students, or speaker at a tech event here. And maybe a blogger, a YouTuber. Actually, it's not that rare to have a blogger at your tech company, so use them. And for my part, I have many friends who actually are my lighthouse, a lot of Scaleway people for many teams, and even my boyfriend, actually, because he knows a lot about AWS or the cloud providers, so he's my little spy, so it's pretty nice. Third tip, you have to gather some good references. So you can't bother your lighthouses 24/7. You can bother them one last time to ask them for a lot of references. You have a list, and when you have this list, you have to choose your favorite medium at first. I am like a 5 years old. I hate reading, but I wrote an article, I know. And actually, I wanted something more visual, like video or even a comics, and it exists, so it's fine. And you have to remember to stay motivated while learning complicated stuff. So use your favorite medium, and if you can, choose to start with, of course, English speakers have no problem with that, but choose a reference in your mother tongue. It can be hard, but at first, for basic concepts, most of the time you can find it. So start with that. Remove a layer of complexity. And the last one is redraw, rewrite. It's very time-consuming to redraw, rewrite references you can have, but it's very nice to do and to share with your team after. So on the screen, you have on the left side a magnificent drawing of my boyfriend. And he explained to me how partitioning worked, RAID 0, 1, etc. And I redraw it actually, and I show it to him to actually see if I understood it completely. And after that, I could even share it to my team, and it's shared knowledge now we have in a more visual way, and it's a lot easier to read it back and remember it. It's time-consuming, we don't do it a lot, but it can actually be very nice to do. After that, the fourth tip, to understand the basics, it collects quantitative user feedbacks. I say quantitative because when you just arrive, you don't have time to be like, oh, I'm going to do 15 user interviews. No, you don't have the time most of the time. So what you do, you actually collect ready-made feedbacks, and you always have feedback in a company, so no worries. Two main teams at Scaleway are great for that. It's the sales representatives and the customer service. Actually, they talk a lot with our clients. They talk a lot about their struggles. So you have a lot of useful feedbacks and done. We also have, of course, the magnificent social networks. It can also be a lot about struggles, but struggles are good feedbacks. And sometimes I even found recommendations between the tweets. Free recommendations, amazing, right? And we also have our communities. We have a Slack community, and it's very nice to see our developers work to understand something they need. If they need documentation, other developers help other developers. So it's pretty nice to see the full experience of how they work, of their daily life. And you also have a website. We have a feature request website. It's in the name. It's the request feature. So as a designer, it's nice to understand what would be your next work. So pretty cool. It's a little screenshot of tweets and messages we had that were extremely useful. So if you're a Scaleway user, thank you. It's very meaningful for us. So now we understood the basics. Can you be efficient on the long term? So actually, I realized it was great to understand the basics, but when I start to work on a project, actually, I spend 40% of my time trying to deal with the technical complexity, and I don't spend this time to actually design. Of course, it's very important to understand. it will be a little more fine over the years. You will understand some things better, but you still have to take a lot of part to actually understand. So how do you actually save time in the process for that? First answer, process is love, process is life. Never forget processes. It's a buzzword sometimes, but it's the best. You need a basic structure to actually do your work. And we have many kind of processes, actually. Julie even talked about that. But at Scaleway, I'm going to talk to you about 3 processes we use that are extremely useful nowadays. So you have the user story mapping. So actually, it's a global mapping of user stories of your project. It's divided in user stories. And so it's from the point of view of a client, it's very useful. And at the same time, since it's very divided, you can actually estimate it a lot better. And everyone in the squad has a full understanding of the full project. So very nice to have a global view for everyone. Inside those user stories, please don't forget about the acceptance criteria, the specifications. If you actually write them beforehand, same, it's very nice to estimate after that, but it's also very nice because you will have meaningless iterations and meetings if you don't write down the specifications before. So save time. Everyone hates meetings, so save times and collaborate on this beforehand. And the last one is the design reviews. We hold a ritual called the design reviews, where we actually show our ongoing work as designers to the full squad. So the squad, it's product managers, developers, front team, documentation team. We have many stakeholders. And you can have early on feedbacks on your designs, and same as the last one, you will save so many time and don't have meaningless meetings and iterations. We all need the same time, so design reviews are the must. It may be obvious, but there are no dumb questions. This is an actual footage of my first project presentation at Scaleway, when I cried tears of blood to actually understand the product. So actually, maybe it happened to you, like you're in a meeting and you're nodding like that, looking at the speaker, like you understand everything, but you don't understand anything. And you take a picture here. And actually, ask for a second project presentation. It will help a lot. I went to one of my coworkers. It was a new coworker, so she has a new presentation. I was like, this is my time to shine. I have to go. And it was amazing because I could focus on the parts I had trouble with, and I asked for even more use cases I could understand. So don't be ashamed of your own ignorance and actually do something about it. You will save time. And the last one, it's about speaking the same language. Actually, at Scaleway, I'm kind of an old product designer, so I have a lot of knowledge on a lot about Scaleway history. But it can be dangerous for your team if one person holds most of the knowledge. So you have to share that. And one of the most useful things you can do is having a shared glossary for each product you own. I'm going to show you a little example of what I mean. If you have a client, you know the problem, you know the solution, so you need some cutlery to it. So some people may be like, oh, of course, a fork and a knife, but it depends on the usage, what people actually use in their everyday life. So maybe someone uses spoons and someone uses chopsticks. So you have to define every key terms on your product so you don't have meaningless iterations, such as one time at Scaleway. It's very honesty talk. I actually designed for 3 days something, and we had to give it on the 4th day. And on the 3rd day, we realized we used the same term to describe 2 different things. So I had to redo my design, and if we had defined a glossary at first, we would not have this meaningless iteration. So remember, a glossary is a key for many projects. And one of our team actually at Scaleway is on huge projects. And they did that at first, and it's extremely useful. You have to do that with your documentation team if you have one, and all the stakeholders. And they even use labels to actually pinpoint if it's wording you have actually in production, if it's something that's updated, if it's something that's new. So very nice for the future. But why would I want to suffer through this? Why do you want to do this as a designer? There are some non-tech applications here. So if you want to recruit designers in your tech companies, you have to remember 3 stuff. It's always 3 with me. You'll be unstoppable. Why? You will become a better designer because you will handle and you will solve complex issues on a daily basis. So don't forget about this. It's very meaningful for a designer career to work in tech companies, actually. And you'll be very knowledgeable because actually you will understand how dev-oriented processes function, and you will have a lot. You're surrounded by experts in the field, so use their knowledge so they can teach you a lot of stuff. And maybe you don't know, but in a lot of technical companies, in a lot of startups, product design is not very that important at first. And you may not even have a product design team or one product designer. So actually, what happens when it happens? It means most of the time you base your products on opportunities, but also on your competitors and your own developer's perspective. So you forget the user. Why are you building your product? It's for your users. So product design brings the science back to your company to actually bring this user knowledge and to actually upgrade the full experience. So don't miss out on that. I hope if you are in a tech company or a company that has very complex issues to solve, that will help you to actually calm down your imposter syndrome and to be have a little more tips to actually do something about it. If you want to put these tips into practice, we actually have a lot of job offers at Scaleway, so check it out. And we also have my full design article with a lot more tips inside. I'm a tips girl, so go check it out, and you have my socials. I don't use it a lot. So you can talk to me if you want to know about everything related to design, onboarding, and design in tech companies. So, and we have our booth here. So if you're on the ground floor, you will have the Scaleway booth. You can come to the booth and talk to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Astrid. So the presentation was totally worth it. I loved your memes. Very, very inspiring.
It's my only way of expression, so yeah.
We'll probably need a micro here.
Oh, yes. Do you want me to?
I think that someone will help me fetch one. Cool.
It was my first English presentation.
Yeah?
Yeah, and my second presentation in total.
There you go. By the way, I could totally relate to your story.
Thank you.
Well deserved. I could totally relate to your story. I remember at some point I got the job proposal. I was invited to an interview at a tech company that was selling data warehouse automation. And I swear to you, I went to the interview, and while I was on the train, I was opening Wikipedia, like, what is a data warehouse? But I ended up still working for them. It was an amazing experience to jump into something that I had no idea about. But my outsider perspective was actually valuable also to those who are working on the team. So I encourage you to invite to your team also people who are very distant to the technology and the tech stack that you're using, maybe in a product position or marketing position or a product design position, because they have this outsider perspective, which will be super valuable. Founders tend to fall in love with their products and they start to narrow down their perspective. And then you need people who are like Astrid.
And there's a job we don't really talk about. It's the UX writer. It's actually not a technical writer. It's a writer who will give a tone and voice of your products. And it's very important, actually, because it's what makes the difference with product design and the full experience from other competitors. because there are big competitors in the cloud provider sector, actually. You know, AWS, and actually, if you have a better experience, and it's what you can do if you're a smaller actor, and it will make the difference for your clients. And at Scaleway, it's so good we have that, but we have so many feedbacks related to actually even the UI, so not the full experience of our console. And people are like, it's so easier to work on a daily basis, and we're so happy to have this feedback because our goal is so, it's not a pain to work. Yeah, I hate working. So our goal is so it includes well in your working flow, like it's not something you don't want to have, so pretty nice.
So because we decided to make some changes in the agenda, we would still have time for questions before we go to lunch. Yes. So anyone who would like to speak to Astrid, share the question with the audience, please. It's your time now.
It's your time to shine. You can sing a song for me.
Does anyone want to say? There is a singer. There
Yes,
you go.
Hi, Astrid. It was an excellent presentation. Thank you.
Ooh, nice.
I have one question. When you're designing all these things and everything, putting the buttons or doing everything to requirement, what tools do you use? Do you use in-house tools, or do you use just drawings like you did, or any other programs, apps?
So actually, we have an history of using a lot of softwares, but right now we are using Figma. It's a collaborative design tool, so it's very nice because we can have what we call a design system. Julie talked about that too. So it's our library of components to build faster and to scale up and to having actually be more efficient when we have design, because you don't want to have new components, new types of fields every day. And what we use, it depends actually. My coworkers actually that we just hired, she used a tablet to actually draw a lot before actually using real components. And it's pretty nice when you actually don't really know how it works, and we don't have a clear idea. Sometimes you don't have a clear idea of the solution. So drawing is a lot faster and easier, and everybody can draw a rectangle and write. So actually, you can do it on Figma, something called FigJam. It's like Miro, if some people know. It's to actually work collaboratively. So we use that. If you want to draw together, we can use that, and we draw shapes and stuff to actually build together something. But there's so many processes going on, so many, most of the time, talking is fine too. We don't talk about this a lot, but when you talk with someone, you can iterate very fast actually on your design. And we have something called design critics. It's between designers. We show other designers our projects, and they have to pinpoint some post-its on the part they don't understand, on the part that need more documentation, on their point of view. So the word is collaborative, honestly. We are many to work on the same products. It's never a designer alone, and it's never other jobs alone. Does it answer your question?
Pretty much. I think you're using actually tools which are very typical for the startup environment. Very cool. Is there someone else who would like to ask a question?
And I'll be at the Scaleway booth if you have other questions. So don't worry if it comes later.
It's always like this a bit before lunch. Everyone is a bit low in energy.
Yes, I want to eat.
Yeah, they want to eat. And they want to have coffee, and it's way too hot now, and they've
I'm
been
so
partying
hungry.
too hard yesterday. Yeah. So, big applause for Astrid then.
Thank you.